What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Crowfall. This is a game that I've had quite a few people tell me to talk about and give my opinions on, so that's what we're going to do. This is a new MMO, and it's a crowd-funded MMO, so you could tell, you can tell that I'm very skeptical already, but it's interesting. The concept is very cool, and while I would have initially just turned away at the sound of crowd-funded MMO, this is not your typical MMORPG. It's not your WildStar, your SWTOR, WoW. It's not one of those MMOs with a giant world leveling, rating, that structured PvP. This game, from what I can tell, is medieval EVE Online. It is EVE, but instead of ships and futuristic things, it's magic, swords, that kind of stuff. It seems to be a PvP game with a heavy emphasis on economy and crafting. This definitely isn't your typical World of Warcraft, SWTOR, Rift, your typical level up, then raid, then PvP kind of game, which I think is good because those games are incredibly expensive and there are so many of those games out right now that I think them even attempting to compete in that market would be shitty. However, they do want this game to be an MMORPG, and I'm curious how they're going to do that because a lot of what they are talking about is not permanent. The big part of the game, the campaigns, that's the big thing. Those are temporary. Those are missions that you go on that last for 1 to 3 months, and if you win them, then you win rewards that go to your eternal kingdom, which I feel like is almost like glorified housing. It's basically the hub where you trade and stuff. But a lot of this game, the vibe I've gotten with this game is a lot of it is very temporary. Just because you have good gear doesn't mean that you have that good gear forever. If you die, then you lose that gear. So I'm curious what sort of permanent character progression they're going to have in this game, because they do want it to be an MMO after all, and I mean, maybe they won't have that much character progression, but I feel like in an MMO you almost have to have some sort of character progression, even if it's minimal. So I'm really curious to see that. So that's one of the things that has me kind of worried. The biggest thing so far that has me worried about this game is this is a good idea. It is. And I don't think too many people would disagree that this is not a good idea. But the thing is that good ideas in video games are worthless. Having a good idea is fucking worthless. There are so many games that had so many good ideas that just didn't get the job done because the ideas were either not executed properly or they just weren't realistic. And, a perfect example of this is war plots. Right before WildStar was coming out, people were pumped up for war plots. People were buying the game, leveling up just for war plots, and that idea was just not realistic. 40v40 wasn't realistic. Even 30v30 wasn't realistic. That's just the thing. You can make something really cool, but if people don't play it, or if people just don't want to do it, then they won't. And this is a game that's going to heavily rely on people teaming up, working together, and that is scary because a lot of people don't do that. They just play games solo. They play World of Warcraft as a solo game. They queue up for their LFR, LFG, Pug Battlegrounds, whatever, and they just play the game as a solo game. And this is a game that heavily relies on guilds and working together with other people. So, they can make the best experience ever that revolves around that, and people can just think the game is bad because they just didn't play the game properly. So that is scary, but that's I wrote down some other things. That's really the biggest thing, other than the fact that we have seen no gameplay. That and that we've seen no gameplay is the biggest thing. I would be showing some Crowfall gameplay here, but there isn't any. Like, there is maybe 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay footage of this game shown. And that's it. At least I couldn't find any. They haven't shown any sort of in-depth combat. There's a bunch of classes. The classes look kind of neat. I can see how they fit into their roles, but they haven't shown any in-depth combat, all right, this sword swing does this, and these guys do this, and the support guys do this. Nothing like that. So the combat could be fucking awful. The abilities could suck. There could be no depth. We don't know. That's one of the most important parts of the game. They haven't shown anything about. If the combat has no depth and people just get bored of hitting M1, M2 all day, then the game is dead in the water. So I wouldn't get too excited quite yet. But the ideas are cool. I like that they're doing the telegraph system. They're taking the WildStar system of, red stuff on the ground and aiming your abilities and shit. They're taking that. So that's fucking neat. I'm glad they're doing that. I'm a big fan of the telegraph system. Destruction, the worlds are fully destructible. You can dig underground. You can build castles, like physically build them. You can destroy walls. That's fucking cool. It's got a voxel system. The campaigns are pretty much the name of the game. The game pretty much revolves around campaigns that are 1 to 3 months long, and you fight 2 other factions for 3 months, and every single campaign has different rules. There's different objectives, random objectives, and the worlds are randomly generated, so it's like Minecraft, where you won't get the same... there's a lot of really cool ideas here, but the thing is, I feel like the game is going to live or die by the players playing the game properly or not. So I think the devs are going to have to spend quite a bit of time communicating to the players how the game is supposed to be played, and by really encouraging players to socialize and get in guilds. I think it's really going to come down to that, because this is a game that looks like you're either going to have a fucking shitload of fun playing it with a group, or you're going to have no fun at all trying to play it solo. So I think they almost need to just shun the solo gamer here. I know every MMO, with WildStar in particular, we want stuff for solo players to do. I feel like if they would have come out and said, listen, you don't play this game solo. I feel like that's what they should do for this game. They need to be if you're looking for a game to play solo, fuck that. You need to be coming into this thing expecting to play with other people and communicate with other people, because I just don't see this game being a very good solo game. So if the devs can communicate to the players how to play the game, or how the game should be played, then I think they'll I think the game will do pretty well, because there's a lot of really good ideas here. There's one particular campaign game mode called what's it called? The Infected. There's 3 factions. There's the Order, the Chaos, and Balance. And the Order and Chaos are doing what you would expect a normal campaign thing to do, which is whichever side gains the most land or completes the objective wins. But the Balance faction is trying to keep the battle as even as possible. So you have one faction that's, going back and forth attacking either side, just trying to keep the battle as even as possible. So the Order wins by getting the most land, Chaos wins by getting the most land, and Balance wins by keeping the battle between Order and Chaos as even as possible. So I think that's a fucking really cool game mode. And the game, it looks cool, but guys, I know people are getting really hyped about it. I've had a lot of people send me messages, you gotta check this out, man, it's so fucking cool, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Gotta keep in mind, we haven't seen hardly any gameplay footage. The only gameplay footage we've seen has been demonstration, and even that has been scarce. We've seen no sort of in-depth combat at all. Nothing in terms of, specific abilities and how specific things work. We haven't really seen any maps. We saw a dwarf character throw a hammer through a wall. That's about it. Very little in terms of how you can build stuff. We've seen very little of basically everything. And I understand that the game is, in its early stages or whatever, but, people gotta calm their jimmies a little bit and just see how it goes. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm sure a lot of you guys are super excited. Maybe I'm being a bit of a party pooper, but I'm looking forward to the game. I don't want people to think that I don't want this game to succeed, because I do, because it looks fucking cool. But, let's wait for our chickens' eggs to hatch before we count them. I fucked that up really bad, but you get what I mean. You know what I mean. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.